Hi, this is Marlo Balmanno, the producer of Latter-day Left.
Our father and son duo returned this week to discuss the State of the Union, the Utah legislative session, and facial recognition.
Don't forget, if you want to contact us, email us at latterdayleft@gmail.com. Now on to the show.
Hi, welcome to another edition of Latter-day Left. I'm Chris.
And I'm Alan.
And we're back. Or you're back. We didn't record last week. Annicky and I were going to... You were out of town.
I was out of town.
Some of us stayed here through Snowpocalypse 2019.
No, wait a minute.
Others of us went to San Diego.
No. I was here for the Snowmageddon, which occurred on Wednesday last week. I was back because I brought with me the storm, because the entire long weekend in San Diego, it rained. And so, when people tell me it never rains in San Diego, that's a lie.
The last two times I've gone to San Diego, it's rained on me. One, torrentially.
Yes, so, it was an incredible rain. We did manage a little...
You know what that's called?
What's that?
Climate change. It's a real thing.
It's called climate. It changes.
Well, it never used to rain that much in San Diego. Now it rains more.
I don't think that.
The patterns are different,
well,
and the flow of the air is different.
I think the pattern this year, but this is it doesn't rain more in San Diego right now.
I think it's rained more in San Diego in the last 5 years than it has in the last.
I don't think so. Talk to the locals.
We'll have to find out.
Let's find out.
Every time I go, it's rained in the last, and
you're just bad luck.
Well, we have a person on our team who lives in San Diego, and whenever we talk to her, she goes, "It's raining again. It rains more now than it ever used to," and she's lived there her whole life.
Yep.
And she's in her mid-50s, and so she's like, "It's never been this rainy." Well, for you, she's young, yes. All right. Anyway, we digress.
Yes,
already.
That's all we do. We digress.
So we're going to start off with a little light topic: racism.
Good. What?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Doesn't exist anymore.
Well, apparently.
That's what I'm told.
So,
yeah.
This is what happens every year this time, because we're going to talk about the Utah legislature. And I can't keep it together because these guys bother me so much. I can't.
Yes.
So we're going to pause on them. We're going to get to them second. But seeing the list, my brain shut down for a second there. We're going to start with State of the Union, because that was this week.
Welcome to 1984. George Orwell's world is what we live in. I know it's 2019, but it's really George Orwell's 1984. Up is down, bad is good, war is peace, peace is war.
Well, we can't have war
without
an
investigation.
And an investigation at the same time.
Way to channel Richard Nixon, by the way. But no, the whole, and then the sarcasm of the clapback. I loved it. I loved every moment of that. The suffragettes in the audience that went whoopee. The guy went and he took the stage.
Well, let me ask you this: did you watch it?
Yes.
Live.
Yes.
When it happened.
Yes.
Why would you subject yourself to that kind of torture?
So I could say yes, because I knew you were going to ask me that question.
I've watched pieces of it on video,
the whole thing.
Online.
I watched the whole thing.
Because if I watched the thing live, I would have lost, there would have been an aneurysm or some kind of nosebleed.
I watched the whole thing, and here is one of my observations. Every time he stopped to take applause, he faced the Republican side of the audience.
Well, of course he did.
The whole thing was stagecraft. The guy who wrote it for him, they threw a bunch of big word about unity and blah, 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 blah. He didn't mean any of that. He simply didn't mean any of it. It was so craven. It really was George Orwell's 1984. And it's just, I don't know, it's beyond me why they actually invited him. Maybe she promised to let him after the government would be open. I think the next 2 years, the House ought to say, no thanks. You can give it from the Oval Office. You can have anybody you want there. We don't care. We don't want you in our house. We don't want you in our building. It was nothing short of him simply co-opting truth and reality and offering his version. It was ridiculous. The lies, I think there were 2 lies a minute. Somebody who fact checks things, said there were an average of 2 lies a minute.
Yeah, I'll go back to my original statement. I will watch anything he does live if we can do it pop-up video style, live fact-checking it. I will pay pay-per-view. I'll pay $50, $49.95 this Sunday at 6 o'clock. Great. Sunday at 6, I'm paying $50 to watch him if they can do it, live fact check.
And the official response by the woman who lost the race for the governorship in Georgia was not a response to the speech. It was her giving a speech about other things.
That's what they always are, because you can't.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can take notes. You could take 15 minutes. You may need to have a good lawyer there or a good team of people there. You could do it. I wanted a response, and I think some people do that.
All of them now, none of them are actual responses. They're it's their own speeches.
I want a response to the speech. Trump said this. No, it's a lie. Here's the fact. Trump said this. No. The whole socialism thing. Oh, my gosh. How worse can you get?
We're back in the 50s, right?
We are worse than the 50s, apparently. And it was such a call to it was such a nonsense call to the right wing. We are born free and we remain free and we'll never be socialist. We're all socialist. It all depends upon where on the spectrum you are. But if you're using state roads and if you're using federal and state services of any kind,
schools, libraries, roads, fire, police, you like the military, all of it, right?
All of it. Every single bit of it. And I'm so sick of these people. They throw the label out there. And let me just say this about the grand old party. It is neither grand,
they're old,
nor a party anymore. It is a cult. They would clap if he had said, "I just raped your mother and I liked it." He would have gotten up and gotten applause, because they don't care what he says. They will clap for him for anything he says. It was a disgusting display on his part. There was no redeeming value of it. I think he took credit for World War II and D-Day, which is what he started out with.
So I saw a thing on Facebook. It was a meme that said, Trump pushes an old lady down. Trump helps the lady up. See, I helped her up. I'm helping. No, you pushed her down. You caused the problem. Why are you being mean to him? He's just trying to help people.
Exactly.
He's taking credit for things, that he should not be taking credit for. He's causing problems and then, quote, fixing them.
Or not fixing them.
Yeah.
The whole thing was ridiculous. The threat was real. You want peace? You do what I tell you to do. You stop investigations. You can't have peace if you have investigations. Holy cow. That was a bad idea on the part of the people who wrote it. Apparently there were 2 speeches. The one that a smart person wrote, the one that Trump wrote, and he actually gave both. If you listen to it, there was no transition. He would finish the one sentence and go right into the next. There was no pause. There was no transition. I pointed out to Donna as I was listening to the thing and watching. I said, he's not transitioning. He's just reading crap. This isn't a speech. This is just a reading. And
do you think he practiced it before?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. He had never seen the speech before. It's on the teleprompter. He's reading the words.
He doesn't need to practice. He's that good about everything.
Clearly.
I think he threw in a bunch of stuff that you should never believe that he would be interested in. And then he obviously didn't speak about certain things that he didn't want you to think about. But it was really.
But he didn't declare a state of emergency. Some were hoping he actually would. Some on the right were hoping that he would, during the State of the Union, declare the state of emergency to build the wall.
Yeah, let me tell you something.
He's going to declare in front of the world that it's a state of emergency. Yeah, well, he didn't. And
I think the Republicans need to be very, very careful not to support this idea, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And the Republicans are not always going to be in control of the White House, but they may in the future have control of one or both branches of the Congress. That's both houses of the Congress. And you don't want another president declaring their own emergencies. Because I can tell you that there are a lot of emergencies that we could be declaring, okay? Not the fake ones that he's created, but real emergencies. Anyway, the whole thing was simply abysmal. I thought the responses should have been more on point and more direct to the speech. Otherwise, it's not a response. It's just some other speech. To me, it didn't play well. It didn't work well. I think once again, the Democrats don't understand how to use media and how to seize the moment.
Well, they don't know how, and they don't know how to effectively communicate their ideas either. It's not they've
the women did the best job. The women did the best job, I thought, of that whole evening when standing up and when he made the stupid remarks of, we've created more jobs for women. And they all stood up and said, "Yeah, us.
Yeah,
the hundred some odd numbers of us." No, it is awful to see what has become of this. Funny things that most people would not have noticed during the State of the Union. One of them, I'll admit, I did not notice it when they showed it, but it was so funny because I went back and looked at it, and sure enough, they showed the Joint Chiefs in their uniforms, and Chief of Staff for the National Guard, who is in Air Force 4 stars, was wearing all his ribbons upside down.
Now, do you think that was deliberate or someone
It was
just
not. It was not. He actually took to Twitter and said, when you make a mistake, you should embrace it. Here's me at the State of the Union. When I put the rack on,
it's just the rack. Yeah, he's not pinning each ribbon on individually. Yeah,
I put it on upside down. Nobody caught it. Now, I think his aide probably got fired, but he said, my fault, my bad. I looked in the mirror. I should have seen it. I didn't see it when they were penning. I mean, I saw them. I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
I kind of thought something's weird, but I couldn't tell what it was. So that was kind of a funny thing. I think that, but I really do. I think in the future, they should just simply not invite this guy. Maybe when the next president comes in, somebody who is rational and somebody who is serious about governing, and not just, all this was just another rally speech like he gives to every other place. That's all that was. It was a rally speech, and the Republicans in the House all stood up and clapped, and frankly, all the wrong times.
Yeah, it's like I didn't watch it live. I couldn't bear to subject myself to it,
And it was long, far longer.
One of the longest they've had.
Yeah, it was
80
ridiculous.
minutes.
Yeah, it was an hour and a half almost. It was ridiculous. Yeah. Felt cheap. You're trying to watch America in action, and this was not it. This felt cheap.
Yeah, it's
anyway. I just So then you notice one of the things he did not do. Usually after the State of the Union, the presidents will go out into the country to sell their ideas. There were no new ideas.
right, because they'll announce their agenda, they'll announce the new ideas and their initiatives, and then they'll start going around the country like the old whistle stop.
Yep.
Train
Obama
rides.
did it. Bush did it.
You go out and you stump for
Clinton did it. They all go out and stomp for their program. This was not a program. This was a pep rally for the 30%.
Yeah.
And the entire GOP, who's apparently bought and drank the Kool-Aid. It's shameful. Absolutely shameful. But no, he did not go on this was just another rally. I think that Mrs. Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi, rules the roost. There were a number of times when her people wanted to start booing, and with a wave of the flick of the hand, she told them to be quiet. It was really mom's in charge. It really was. And frankly, considering that he wasn't saying anything substantive, that everything he was saying was a preposterous lie, I think she should have allowed them to boo him off the stage. And frankly, I really do think that he should never be invited back again. It was a farce. It is an example of just how bad the federal government has become under his administration.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't want to talk about that anymore.
Okay.
I don't know what else to say.
Fine, but you're going to be talking about other GOP stuff. So.
Well, unfortunately, you mentioned shameful a second ago, which leads us to the local Utah legislature.
Yes, of course.
Look, to wrap up the State of the Union thing, I can't watch anything he does because he is a toddler looking for attention. So when he stops and he looks at the GOP and they're clapping and he gets that dumb smile on his face like, oh, you like that? I'll give you more because now you like me. Or,
yeah.
He's a toddler looking for attention.
Yeah,
he needs a timeout and a nap.
No, it was awful.
But I think that they call that executive time.
They do call that executive time. Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
so that was absolutely a shameful piece of American history, and we have a lot of shameful pieces of American history.
Okay,
but this was one of the worst.
So when we started this, and you said you can't have peace, or we can't have war and in the presidential investigation.
Right.
You said a way to take a page out of Nixon's playbook.
Correct. When Nixon called for the Congress to stop investigating Watergate.
Right. This entire presidency is so Nixonian. The entire administration. But if you think about everything, and even down to who was the latest guy to be arrested doing the double peace signs and waving
one of his henchmen.
The latest guy, I don't remember. He came out and he's waving his arms. I mean, really, that's what you want to go with? Is straight from Nixon?
Yeah, but that guy actually did work in the Nixon White House.
Well, all right. I'm a little more local to home here in Utah. If you live elsewhere outside of the state of Utah, we can talk about you guys. We just need to know what's going on in your state. So send us ideas. That's my shameless plug for now. The Utah Legislature. It's in full session. I guess the big news coming out of the legislature is the Proposition 3. It's the Medicaid expansion.
Yes.
Once again, for the second time in a row now, the people of the state of Utah voted for a thing, and the legislature turned around and goes, well, no.
We're not going to give it to you.
We're not going to give it to you. You don't know what you're talking about.
So what they want to do is, what they passed is a bill which, instead of covering 150,000 people, will only cover 50,000 people. Instead, it's going to cost $70 million more than the original, and it's not going to get the federal monies, which the people's plan would have gotten.
Right.
But they do have to ask, and they do have to ask for a waiver from the Trump administration. I don't think there's anybody there to give anybody a waiver in the first place. I don't think they've staffed half of those positions. It is simply ridiculous to expect the Trump administration to give us a waiver. You don't get those waivers to begin with. This whole thing has been an absolute waste of time, and
so it's going to cost more, cover fewer people,
for less benefit,
yeah,
and get less federal money that we've already paid into the system. And these people have absolutely no shame at all.
Well, they're very open now. At least with Prop 2, they tried to. Well, we worked out a deal with the original people who brought Prop 2.
Yeah,
and this is a good compromise.
Which it isn't, by the way.
Which it wasn't. But this Prop 3, they specifically said, well, yes, the people voted for it, but we don't care. We're going to do our own thing.
That's right.
By the way, they had years and years and years to do anything about any of these issues,
which is why
they didn't do anything until the proposition passed. And so one of them said, well, we thank the voters for bringing this to our attention and bringing it to, and letting us talk about it.
Okay, you know what? What a bunch of crap.
Because they were like, oh, well, we hadn't talked about it yet, and we had years, but because the voters brought it to our attention, we went ahead and did something about it.
You know how ridiculous that is, because it is so difficult to get one of these issues on the ballot.
The Medicaid expansion has been brought up every
year, every single year. But to say that, the people have now allowed us to talk about it, it is so difficult to get
A proposition.
a proposition on the ballot that how can you say that this was the people inviting you to talk about it? This was the people telling you to shut up and do what we tell you to do. And it's absolutely
This was the people saying,
ridiculous.
we're tired of your inaction, so we're going to take matters in our own hands.
Yeah.
And the legislature is saying, oh, well, we don't think you should be allowed to do that, so we're going to do it this.
Right.
We're going to undo
we're
whatever
gonna
you
undo
did.
what you do.
'Cause we didn't
Right.
like that.
Now
The other thing I didn't like was the quote, and I don't remember who said it. And this isn't an exact quote, but it was basically, it came down to, my district didn't vote for it because it was a statewide proposition. So it wasn't broken down by districts. It was just total votes.
It is. No. We know by district.
Right. We do know by district, but it didn't come down to.
No, it didn't come down
so
to
many
districts.
districts had to support it.
That's
It was
correct.
total vote
yeah,
count.
Yeah, that's correct. But now they're going to make it more difficult.
Well, so now the one guy was saying, well, my district didn't support it. And a bunch of them are saying, well, our districts didn't support it, so therefore we're not. Well, okay, because your district is drawn such that.
Well, but
you made sure that your district.
But your district probably voted for Prop 2, and you voted against that too.
Right.
So
Well, more people voted for this than Prop 2.
They-
This had a bigger margin of
did.
victory.
It did.
It had more support throughout the
It
state,
did.
and they still gutted it.
and they still gutted it. And their idea that my district voted against it, and therefore I don't have to vote for it, or therefore I can vote to overturn it. You know what? That is such a ridiculous lie, because the problem with that is that people in their district voted for it. Part of the majority includes people in their district, okay, that voted for it.
Yeah, but they're doing that election math on the back of the napkin, saying, if I come out and I overturn this, the majority of the people in my district won't be upset with me about this come election time.
Yeah,
and they
will
won't vote me out.
We're going to target you. I have to be careful.
Well, we can't target all of them because it was like
we can target them.
3/4 of them.
We can target them.
I mean,
there are a few of them who are craven enough to say, I'm not running again, so I don't care what the voters think. And there's some who have said that. And those we don't have to target because they're going to be gone on their own. This is absolutely outrageous, and there is nothing but shame for those people if they don't even think that they did anything wrong. It is malpractice as a legislator on so many levels. I'm going to pass something more expensive, less efficient, because I want to ignore the people. And that's the bottom line.
They want to ignore the people. It's not that they want to ignore the people. They were doing a pretty good job ignoring the people before this. This is an active. We are going to undo whatever you do because we don't want you to think that you have any kind of power. This is their way of telling the people of the state of Utah, you have no power. You have no ability.
We actually do have power. The Constitution of the state of Utah says that we have the power. And what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to put a constitutional, a constitutional amendment, which says when the people speak and pass a proposition, it becomes law and cannot be amended until after the next election cycle. That's what the Constitution has to say to protect the voice of the people in Utah.
Yeah. So then Prop 2, Prop 3, these two
Well, Prop 4 is now going to be under attack. Prop 4, which is the gerrymandering, anti-gerrymandering proposition.
So Prop 4 was that there would be a independent third-party commission to look at the districting
to draw the districts. By the way,
they're scared to death of that one.
They are. And let me
that
tell
was
you,
the one that passed with the smallest margin.
It was.
By the way.
It was. That was
53,
so
if there was
54%.
one that they could have targeted to overturn,
but no, I don't think they need to target any of the ones that are passed by the people.
I'm saying if there was going to be one where they could point and say, "See, this people didn't really know what they were talking about. It barely scraped by, so we think we can undo it."
And I don't know if we talked about this 2 weeks ago, but Lyman, the representative from down in Juab County, from down in the Navajo area, is griping and complaining because when the federal judge said your gerrymandering of your county districts is causing the majority Navajos to not have a voice on the county council.
Right.
And the way he did it was to take Blending, one of their cities, and to chop it into third.
Right.
And Mr. Lyman is saying, oh, they chop Blending into thirds and the white people don't have a vote. Well, they do. You have one voice on the city council out of three, because that's what you get. And he's all upset about that. I don't see him being upset about Salt Lake City being chopped into fours, so that it doesn't get a voice in terms of the congressional representation. It doesn't get, so the cravenness and just simply the lack of any good faith effort on the part of the GOP, and I include the state GOP and the national GOP. You own it. You own the evil that you have applauded.
Yeah. So the other thing I was going to bring up, and I laugh because it's ridiculous, and to keep myself from getting too upset, you see they want to cut Salt Lake City in half, create 2 counties out of Salt Lake County, and there was another one, I think it was Juab, they want to cut into half.
Yes.
So they're basically wanting to create, they said, well, there's too much of a concentration of a certain voting block.
Right. It's because of the Navajos.
Well, the Navajos in Juab and the Democrats in Salt Lake, because that's where a lot of these propositions got enough votes to pass.
Well, that's what they got started.
Well, they got started, but
plus
Salt Lake County doesn't vote for Prop 2, 3, or 4. They probably don't pass on their own.
Probably not. But
because the rest
we are the biggest county.
We're the biggest county. Well, that's what they're saying. It's so big. There's so many people. We really need to split it in half. Both counties they're wanting to split in half and create 2 new counties.
Yeah, no, we don't need. We don't need to split counties.
So instead of just gerrymandering, they want to split the counties up.
You know, if you're going to do that, I mean,
so they can concentrate the votes into a smaller area.
It is so craven and so lacking in any good faith and any attempt to govern properly and
well, we
honestly.
see this everywhere, right? We see this. We talked about this a few weeks ago. Wisconsin taking dramatic steps to
Ohio to basically disenfranchise the new governor.
Well, to curtail the power of the governor's office, because
yeah.
the Democrat got elected, so they're panicking and they're like, "Wait, we don't want him to be able to do anything." So one of them, I think it was Wisconsin. They were. I think somebody was jokingly floating at, well, maybe we can, take away the power of the veto from the governor. And a couple people laughed, and some people said, no, wait, can we do that? And they spent 3 weeks looking into whether they could remove the power of veto, so if the legislature passed the thing, the governor couldn't veto it.
Yeah. Well, I think that when it comes to state state abuses of power, there's a reason why the federal government has developed and has taken positions on a lot of situations that over the years might not have always been federal issues. And it's because state governments are the dictators. They are the biggest tyrants. If the federal government didn't step in, the civil rights of minorities in a third of the states, if not half of the states, would have never been protected.
Yeah.
If the federal government didn't get involved, the education of people in a third to half of the states would be so wanting, not that it's probably great now,
I was going to say,
but would be so wanting that you would have a third world populace, illiterate, okay? You practically have that in some places now. If the federal government did not get involved, the pollution and the poisoning of the water and the air and the soil in so many places would have gone unchecked, because the state governments have absolutely no morals. They are owned and bought by the local businesses. We saw it happen this past week at the state legislature, and it was written up in the Salt Lake Tribune. It was a wonderful piece. They were talking about a bill. There was a text that went out from the lobbyist, and you saw a couple of the GOP members look at the lobbyist, and he went and pointed them to the door, and they got up and they went and they got their marching orders and came back and voted no, I think, on what the issue was. They are bought and paid for. If you tell me money doesn't matter in politics, who gives the money doesn't matter in politics. All you have to do is watch what this administration in D.C. is doing right now and watch your state legislature. It is craven, it is evil, and frankly, it is turning the United States into a third world country. Because if you don't have the foundation of honesty, if you have a foundation of bribery and of corruption, then you don't get to stay, or you don't even get to become a first world country. First world countries operate efficiently and effectively because the people in power, the people in office, are dedicated to the higher principles. And if you don't have that, then your country never goes from third world to first world. But if you don't have that, first world nations who lose their ethics, who lose the prohibition against corruption, those first world countries fall back into second and third world status. That is what's happening to the United States right now. And you need not only at the federal level to be aware of it, but you need to be aware of it at your state level because the states are unmatched in their ability to have corruption. You go back to the history of states and you see that corruption. It was very interesting when I ran for the legislature. My opponent asked me, because one of my platform was to have transparent and to have honesty in government. And he said, do you think that's a real problem here in Utah? Yes, I think it's a real problem. And it's been a few years since I ran for political office, and it has only gotten worse. It has gotten far worse now.
Well, because
in Utah,
your opponent, and I'm going to lump him, I'm using him as the example because you brought him up, but there's most of them in the legislature. They have this feeling, well, because his thing is, do you think that's a problem here in Utah? Because he's thinking, we're all good LDS.
That's right.
Priesthood holders, for the most part. We're all good LDS people. So
85%.
Obviously we're going to be, upright, and we don't, it's not a problem here because we're good church members.
No,
that's what was going through his mind.
That's exactly.
And that's what's going through the minds of all the people, most of 85% of the people on the Hill is, well, we're good church members. So whatever we do is righteous.
This is an interesting thing because
that's what he was thinking.
Oh no, you're exactly right. And this is what we're seeing with the Christian right across the country. The idea that, look, I read my Bible every day, and so I think Bible thoughts, and therefore, whatever I think must be influenced by the spirit of the Bible and by the spirit of God. And it's sort of this, what they're doing is they're saying, look, I am a God-fearing person, therefore everything I do is God-fearing and good. And that's how they justify the nonsense and the corruption in which they participate.
Yeah.
Going so far as to make excuses that, God really wanted Donald Trump to be president.
Oh, yeah, that's one of their favorite things is God put Donald Trump in the White House to save us.
Yeah.
From what? And you ask them from what? Well, the socialist black man that came before him.
No, that was chosen by God.
Who was ruining our country. But he wasn't put there by God? No, he was put there by the godless atheist. Yeah, if it was such a problem, why didn't he put his opponents in as opposed to him? Well, to teach us a lesson.
Oh,
wait, what's the? I've had these conversations, and it's a circular conversation that those people who think independently or think and don't just
think.
It's maddening to listen to the reason.
It really is.
Or the quote reason.
And to listen to the legislators defend their behavior is equally maddening. And I just wish the governor would be strong enough to say, you know what, we're not going to do that. I mean, he's come out.
I'm hoping he vetoes it.
I mean, he's come out and
he came out before and he said Prop 3 should be, the people passed it.
That's
should.
Right.
And my response was, well, where were you on Prop 2? But okay, we'll let that one go for, obviously I'm not letting that one go.
No.
But he said we're going to,
should.
the people pass it. The voice of the people should be left alone.
Right.
Hopefully he stays to that.
Yeah,
I doubt it.
I doubt it. I mean,
the other quote from the legislator that really irked me was, well, I know that he said, I'm just voting the way they tell me to. The leadership tells me to. I haven't really read the bill or looked into what this is going to mean. Also, if I don't, then they won't support my thing. So he has no idea what this bill's doing.
Exactly.
He has no clue what this bill's doing. But in order to go along to get along, kind of thing, they're telling me to vote yes. I'm going to vote yes.
Yeah, it's shameful.
How many of them up there are doing that? Voting on this Medicaid bill, they don't really know what's going to happen. They haven't looked into. They've heard the testimony. This is going to be more expensive and cover fewer people. Some of them don't care.
Yeah.
Some of them think that's good. We don't want to cover people. If you're sick and don't have insurance, that's your fault.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have more, maybe you should just get a better job or get more jobs or, not that they don't care, they're apathetic. They don't care in that they really want the people to have to suffer or work harder for it. They don't want to, why should, taxpayers cover your health insurance? Why should they pay for you to go to a doctor?
Yeah.
Well, okay, forget the whole humanity or Christian thing, but, they drive me nuts. They all drive me nuts.
Yeah, it is really simply I think it's a case of we are not moving forward. We are definitely retrograding. The intelligence level is simply moving backwards.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about the herd, the anti-vaxxer things a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we talked about that. And
it's just another example of that. Anyway.
All right. More local legislature, but more of an open question than a specific topic. What are some things that you've seen or heard that the legislature is working on or is going to pass that we need to watch out for or be aware of?
Well,
or let's put it another way. What's going to make the national scene? What is either Jimmy Fallon or Colbert going to make fun of Utah for, or what's going to make CNN? We lowered the alcohol, the blood alcohol to 0.03. 0.05. Sorry, this wasn't an idea. Holy crap. It went from 8 to 5. It went down 3. That's what I was thinking.
There you go.
It went down 3. Yeah. I did the math and I said the wrong number. It went down to 0.05.
Right.
That made national news.
Sure, because we're the first state to do that.
We've done some things with... we had the state gun instead of a state flower or a state bird.
Oh, we have those too.
Well, we have those two, but we named the state gun.
Yes.
And that made national news.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard. What's making the national news now is the overriding of Prop 2 and Prop 3.
Right.
That's what's making the national news right now. I mean,
I haven't heard of any.
There's the woman that's writing a bill that would outlaw abortions, all abortions. Completely, so those kind of bills they always get run, I want what I'm interested in. Well, and obviously they're running a bill which will make it harder for the people to put things on the ballots.
Well, right, because now they're afraid of more and more propositions because of what just happened.
Yeah, so they're going to make it much more difficult by not so much relying on the people, but saying that, we need a majority of the people in every county.
Yeah, not just so many signatures. You need to be
so many signatures from every county,
which is a percentage
just
of
to
the
put it
registered voters
just to
per
put it on
county.
the ballot, and it's not going to pass until it passes every county. Things of that nature. That's just ridiculous. I do want to talk about something that they're working on. As you know, even the governor came out and said, "Oh, we need to give $100 million tax break to people."
Yeah, okay.
We don't need another tax break in Utah. What we need is better use of the government money that we sent there to help run the state. But as part of that, what they want to do is they're talking about, well, we can give a tax break on which will help people. It's not. For one thing, we don't have a progressive tax system in Utah. We have a basic flat tax.
Right.
which does not help the poor people, and it doesn't help fund the government, and doesn't help us fund the things that we need. So they need to become more progressive. The other thing that they need to do is, rather than narrow the tax base by, saying we're only going to do it on sales tax, our economy, like most of the economies in the United States, has gone from agrarian to industrial to commercial, or commercial is not the right word.
Service based.
No. Before service, there was an economy that was based on buying stuff, consumerism. There you go. And now we're in, as you say, we're in the service based. Services don't get taxed. Plastic surgery doesn't get taxed. High-end elective medical procedures of other sorts don't get taxed. Legal services don't get taxed. That's a big piece. The economy now has moved from consumer to services. A lot of the information age stuff, and I'm not talking about the buying online, because they're now trying to capture some of that.
Oh, they're capturing it.
The sales tax. I'm talking about the service industry, the development of. This is where our economy is. So, in the past, our income tax, and our taxes were based on what was the economy, how was the economy functioning. The economy was functioning at an agrarian level, you taxed that. When it became a consumer, that's the sales tax, basically. That's the consumer. But now we're at a different economy. And so it seems to me that they should look at putting tax on services, because that's where the economy is. It's now a service economy. It's not as much a consumer economy. And then so that's where I think that states ought to start to look. And we should, in Utah, be far more progressive. We're not a progressive tax state at all. And there's simply no reason for that. I think it's just simply not, it's not an effective way to fund government. And of course, their idea is, well, okay, we don't want to use the money that we have to fund Medicaid or to fund education. Let's just cut taxes. When you have the resources, you should use the resources to address the problems that you have.
Well, it's what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, you're talking about
practical, pragmatic.
No, but you're talking about fundamental
governance.
It's their ideology.
Well, that's right.
The ideology. Sorry, that's the word I'm looking for.
That's right.
It's the fundamental ideology of the people in charge here in Utah. We're not going to help anyone. You help yourself. You shouldn't be relying on the government. We're not. Why are my taxes paying for your kids to go to school? Why are my taxes paying for the poor people that have?
I can make a good argument for that.
Well, of course we can. But their ideology. We've made them before. We've made the arguments before. The social contract and the idea that we're living in a society, so we're going to take care of, and we've brought up the Book of Mormon, and when they were.
So let me make a negative.
When their society was Zion, and they had all things in common, and there were no poor among them.
That's right.
But we've talked about all that.
But let me make a negative argument. You want to fund schools, even though you don't have children in school. You want to fund the poor people, even though it might cost you some money, because it is in your own self-interest. It is in your self-interest to make sure that the little kid growing up on the west side of Salt Lake City is getting a good education so that he and she can get a good job. Because otherwise, they're going to take their baseball bats, they're going to drive their crappy piece of car to the east side, and they're going to rob you at gunpoint. So that's why you want to create a society that is just and fair. If you don't want to aim for the higher level loftiness of these are all God's children, and we all ought to do what's right. Do it for your own self-preservation.
Well, we've made those arguments before, and these arguments have been made before. They don't buy it. They don't buy that paying for the kid on the west side of Salt Lake City to go to school is going to make his life better or less dangerous or
their life.
When he goes through the drive-thru at McDonald's and the kid doesn't know how to make change, he says, see, the schools suck. Why am I paying for the schools? He doesn't say, well, maybe we should put more money into the schools and teach the kids more math skills. Literally, the thinking is twisted. And the problem we have is that no argument, no rational debate is going to bring them to think the other way. They are hardwired, it seems.
I think you're right.
To literally
they are hardwired.
Reject the rational and the fact-based and it's worked everywhere else it's ever been tried. Why wouldn't it work here? Talk about anything, right?
The history.
Funding the education. Education being the key to a lot of it. And they'll agree, well, they need a better education. They need to stay in school. They need to get... Everyone needs to go to college.
Make it easier for them to do that.
The kid can't do his homework and learn if he's helping mom and dad because he has to work 30 hours a week after school to help pay the rent and the food and stuff for the house. The kid can't, by the way, learn effectively
on an empty stomach.
Or when school starts at 7 a.m., but he got to bed at midnight because every teacher wants to give every kid an hour and a half of homework.
Yeah.
Let's say the kid doesn't have a job. The kid has, it's a middle-class family. He gets home. Maybe he has sports practice after school. Maybe he doesn't. Or
but
she.
There's a lot of
you get home.
Activity.
There's a lot of after-school stuff. You get home. You start doing homework, and the kids get to bed at midnight. School starts at 7. And some of these schools start as early as 7. Some of them start as early as 10 till 7. 6:50 that first bell rings in some of these schools.
Yeah, it's
okay. When's the kid getting any sleep? When's the kid getting any kind of
things need to be more. People need to look at things and be more rational.
Nobody
more
wants
reasonable.
to listen to the. I want to. The word is the experts, but as soon as you say, "Well, the experts," they're just they're just trying to help their own or whatever. Their focus is too narrow and they don't understand the big picture. When you got teachers associations saying, here's how teachers need to be helped, and you ignore them because you think you know better, but you're a commercial real estate developer. What do you know about education? Why would you not listen to the people who know what they're talking about, have been doing it for 30 years? Because...
Well, this is, and then we've talked about this. This is the anti-intellectualism.
It's anti-intellectualism, but it's a willful, deliberate ignoring of fact, of any kind of sound reasoning.
And this is what brings down
dogma.
Societies. It is dogma.
When you said cult, you called it. It is dogma.
It is dogma.
In the face of anything, in spite of anything that would contradict it or prove it otherwise. This is the flat earth people saying, well, I don't believe you. Well, here's a picture of the Earth. It's manufactured. Every other planet in the solar system is round. Why would the Earth be flat? Well, because it is.
Because it was special.
Right. This is despite all the evidence.
Yeah.
Despite anything that they're told or shown that would disprove them or try to get them to change their mind, they're so dug in by the heels. They're so entrenched in their dogma that they won't. Literally, they won't. It's not that they can't. They won't listen to any other arguments. Right. And so
so the tax break, that's exactly. Oh, we have money. Let's give it.
We should never have a surplus. Well, instead of reinvesting that, So instead of taking that money and putting it back into the Medicaid or into education,
dealing with issues that we need to deal with,
issues that we have currently, they want to close their eyes and say, well, obviously that means we're collecting too much. Tax break time.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's
everything that they do.
The flat Earth people, and I saw something which was really funny today, which said, "Yeah, it's true. We never really did go to the moon. It was faked. Stanley Kubrick was the guy who filmed it, but he's a demanding producer, so it was actually filmed on location."
So it's on location. Yes, I see that, or something similar to that. He's such a demanding director; they had to go on location to film.
but it was a fake thing. Though.
But yeah, don't worry about it. It's all right. We're gonna move on a little bit, I guess. There was staying on the taxes thing. I'm guilty. I saw the headline. I didn't click on the article. I didn't have time at that time. And I meant to go back to it, and I can't find it. The average Utah tax bill this year is up 200%. People who have gotten refunds their entire life.
Oh, you're talking about the federal taxes.
No, well, the federal taxes, yes, but it influenced Utah tax because Utah says, well, based on your federal income, we're going to take a bunch of those numbers and then do our own special thing with it. But a lot of it's based on your the federal taxes that you fill out. The average Utahn is seeing their Utah tax bill go up 211% this year over last year. Now, Utah didn't raise taxes, but because the federal people, they messed with the deductions and
they have changed
things that you could deduct, things that you could bring your taxable income down went away, which meant the taxable income stayed higher, which that number just gets ported over into the Utah tax form, and now you've got a higher number that you're paying taxes on.
That's right.
And people didn't think about the ramifications.
Well, just like, if you see the stories, federal tax returns, refunds are down 8%.
Refunds are down 8%. The number of early tax returns, now, they said some of that could have been due to the shutdown. People thought, well, why am I going to follow my taxes? But up to this point, normally there's so many million tax returns. People, lower income families who need that tax return quickly. They want the money.
Yeah, they want the
refund.
They
file quickly so they can get the returns quickly.
And the refunds are going to be lower.
But they're not. They haven't filed because everyone's so unsure that, wait, if I do my taxes and file, I may have to pay where I've never had to pay before.
Well, first do it. You don't have to pay until April 15th, so at least find out what you need to do to plan ahead.
Do the math and
do the math and plan ahead. Look, people said that this tax bill passed by the Republicans would benefit only the uber rich, and the Republicans said, oh, no, it's going to be okay. You guys are going to like it. And what they did is, some people are saying, well, that just means the government took less along the way. Okay, so the government took less along the way. Maybe you had an extra $15 in your biweekly paycheck.
That's funny that you said that because mine was literally $14.
Yeah, I know. I've heard people who said
mine was
$13.
Mine was $14.
I know. So you get an extra $13 26 times a year, okay? Because it's 26 pay period every other week. Okay,
if that's how you get paid, yeah.
So let's say that you get $15 times 26. You're going to get an extra $390 spread out across the year.
Right.
America has a problem. We don't save money. It's not like they put away the $15 and now are going to add the $390 to their refund and have a bigger portion. They've spent it all along the way. The $390 isn't there, and these are people who rely on that for their, maybe they have, that's how we pay our car insurance. Or that's how we pay for the year. Or that's how we pay our medical insurance. Or whatever it is. All they did was screw around with people.
That's how you pay off the bills from Christmas.
That's how we pay. Yes, that's how we pay the Christmas bill. All they did was screw around with people. They didn't help people in the least. The people who made money, the people who made out on this GOP tax cut were the 1% and the uber rich. The middle class got screwed and the poor people got screwed. And now those chickens are coming home to roost. But that's okay, because payday lenders will lend you money to pay your taxes.
So they'll lend you. So that's the other thing the legislature is doing. They're looking to even further dilute the regulations or further unregulate the payday lenders here in the state of Utah.
Of course.
Allow them to charge more interest, be more predatory.
They already
they're talking about allowing them. Now, the bill hasn't been finalized, but one of the versions that I was seeing online, they want to allow the payday lenders to start advertising on TV and radio and on billboards.
Good heavens.
Can you imagine payday lenders being able to advertise on TV? Every other commercial is going to be, you're going to have beer, trucks, and payday lenders.
Yeah.
Those are the only commercials you're ever going to see. It's going to be ridiculous.
Well, and look, they know exactly what they're doing. They're preying on the poor. But that's P-R-E-Y, not P-R-A-Y.
Well, they're not praying for. They're
They're not praying.
on.
They're not praying for the poor. They're preying on the poor.
Yes.
And you know, here's a business model that you ought to think about. Why don't you prey on the people that have money? Why don't you find ways?
Well, they don't need the paid. If the people who have the money don't need these stopgap loans,
They don't. So you have to find
know,
different ways.
look,
to get money from them.
A real story from my house. We had a plumbing disaster. It was 11 o'clock at night. We had to call one of those 24-hour plumbers, and the lady on the phone, because you call the number and it's just a receptionist. She goes, "Well, it's gonna be $75 because it's on top of because it's your after hours." I'm like, fine, I need to be able to use my water.
The water's flowing. We
I'm
need
like,
somebody here now.
I need someone. Yeah, $75. The guy who gets here, well, it's $150. Lady on the phone said $75. He goes, "It's $150 or I'm walking away." Well, odds are it is $75 that the company's charging. He doesn't want to get out of bed at midnight and come to your
There you
house.
go.
So he's saying, well, it's going to be $150 for me to put my pants on and come to your home at midnight. So, but what are you going to do? You have to eat that. You have no choice.
Exactly.
The final bill is like $500-$600. I had the money. I don't like spending that much money overnight on a plumber, but I had it. Not everybody has it. So what do?
people
You write
don't.
a check or you give them the credit card.
You float it, or you
and then
get
you go to a
credit
payday
card.
lender and you're like, I had a plumbing emergency. I have to,
Yeah.
buy groceries and still pay rent.
Yeah.
The rent money went to that guy last night. I need money today. And so these people who don't have, you said we don't save, those people living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, we saw that during the shutdown.
You get one emergency, plumbing,
You derail.
car,
Yes.
medical.
Yes.
That's it. You're done.
Yes.
You are done.
Yes, absolutely. When we worked with the people in the inner city mission, that one emergency that derails has far consequences because you are living paycheck to paycheck. Those people are okay. This is for this. This is for this. This is for this. There's no extra. And now this breaks.
And they're down to like the pennies. They're literally they know that the electric bill, if it's $10 more than what I expected or what I budgeted for, where's the 10 coming from?
No, that's exactly right. And now you get the emergency, and now it derails everything else.
Yep.
And so the consequences are drastic. But anyway,
So anyway, the payday lenders can't go after the people with the money. They don't have those situations.
no. But if you're a payday lender, maybe get a different business going, one where you can make money off of the rich people. It would seem to me that that's a better market for you. But it's never been
it's
that.
a smaller market.
It's never been that.
The big market is the people without the money.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of numbers.
Yeah, your
in terms
market
of numbers.
penetrate your sheer number of potential customers is so much bigger the other way around.
And so this economic model to always go after the poor people and squeeze them some more. I mean, does that sound like feudalism to you?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
The
Feudalism.
The Lord King needs more.
Yes.
He wants to throw a banquet. We're going to tax the peasants.
Yes,
we're going to
exactly.
raise the rents or whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
That it is feudalistic. Humans have never figured out a better way. Of course there is.
No, some people have.
There's lots of better ways.
The Scandinavian countries have found a better way. They're some of the happiest people on the face of the planet.
right.
And they have now.
Tax?
I saw one of them. They're like, "Yeah, our taxes are high, but I'm not paying for health care. I'm not paying for daycare for my kids. I'm not paying for schools up through college. In most cases,
right.
I'm not paying for all these things that you guys pay for out of pocket. They have more money at the end of every month than we do because yes, they get 40%, 50% of their money is taken out for taxes, but they're not shelling out for everything
Yeah,
all the
and-
time
and
like
look-
we are. Look, I saw a thing. It was Norway, someone from Norway or Sweden, one of the Scandinavian countries goes, because it's the thing about the socialism.
Yes,
After Trump's
yes.
State of the Union, he goes, well, we don't have a socialist government. The government's democratic. We elect our leaders.
Exactly.
We held elections. We hold
right.
people accountable. We have a big, he said, we have a big safety net. Social Security, retirement, healthcare, daycare for your
Education,
kids,
that's right.
education.
Yeah.
We've, as a society, decided those things are worth putting the money into.
Exactly.
And they figured it out. And guess what? They're the happiest people
This
on the planet.
Exactly. You know, you have less worries about
It makes
the
me want to
fundamental
move
things.
up north and deal with no sun for 3
No
months.
sun for 3 months. I mean,
But then you get the other side. You get, it's sunny all the time for 3 months. But
But yeah, I mean the whole. So when people in our government, when people in our country are saying we need to tax the 1% at 70%, the 1% people at 70%, that has worked, by the way. In our
we
country.
used to have that.
That
we
worked.
had
That wor-
72%.
That worked in our country between the end of World War II and the
Reagan.
start of the Reagan people.
Yeah, Reagan's the one who.
So I mean that works. And if you're going to say,
Well, and it's not a flat 72%. One of
No.
the best videos I've seen online.
yeah, we're talking about the marginal rate,
Right, explaining
Not everything
how-
is 72.
Right, explaining
You
how
don't-
the
marginal rates,
the marginal
rates
rates
applied.
and the progressive rates,
It's a
how it
so-
gets applied.
so
Yeah. That's a great
everybody's-
video. If you out there and you haven't seen it, go find it.
Go
It's-
find it.
It explains
It works
it
like
beautifully.
this: everybody's first $10,000 is taxed at the low poor people income, whatever it is.
No matter what your salary is, your first 10,000 is taxed
10,000
at X.
And then the next, and then the next 10 to 25,000 is whatever percentage, and then 25 to 70, whatever that percentage, 70 to 150, whatever that percentage is. Now, at that point, most of the people shouldn't care anymore because the average income in the United States is not 150,000 per household. But then the people who are above that, we increase the amount on that
extra.
portion,
Right.
on that extra. And so that's what people need to understand. We talk about a progressive tax, and we talk about that's what you're talking about. Not the whole thing is being taxed at 70%, but that last increment is being taxed at 70%, and then some of it is at 60, some of it at 50, some of it at 40, 30, 20,
Right.
or whatever. Because that's how you, one, create a fair, just, and functional society, and that is also how you actually fund what you need and how you make it fair for the people at the bottom.
Well, you also need to change your. There needs one of the things that person was saying. You need to change what's important to you. What's the priority? They prioritized healthcare, education, the safety net. They
This is what we
made that
talk
a
about.
priority. Here
Yeah.
it's okay. We prioritize.
I don't know what we prioritize. Rich people.
We prioritize the rich people, making them the special exception to everything. But even if you bring it down to a state level, what are the things we prioritize? We don't put we don't allow extra money or anything to go to education. They
Right.
want to keep cutting the education
Right.
fund.
So
They
I mean,
rate
it's-
it for other things.
well, and
it's not obviously not health care because
It's a flat tax,
so what are the things that the state prioritizes?
no taxes,
Right,
flat tax.
It's dogma. They
Yeah,
prioritize
exactly.
the ideology.
Exactly.
They don't prioritize the things, the programs. They prioritize the ideology of take care of yourself, don't take my money no matter what, and your problems are not my problems, they're your problems, you deal with them.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, anyway, okay.
All right.
We're going to wrap this up by you had a thing.
I have a thing.
Normally it's me who had a thing,
have
but
a
you
thing.
you said you had a thing at the end. This is the end.
Face recognition technology.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's been being used for a long time now.
It's being used. It apparently doesn't work well on black people. They all look the same. Something like 98% error rate when it's targeted to the African American community. So it doesn't work well. And what do you do? So my question is, it's becoming more and more ubiquitous everywhere in the public settings. And the question is, what do you know about it?
I know that there's face recognition software. It's used everywhere and has been for a very long time.
The police use it for lineups.
Police use it, but like your intelligence community's been using it for a lot longer than you think it's been around.
Oh, no, I know that. But it wasn't being used.
It's being used
wasn't-
more and more commercially now.
Yes.
It's being used high-tech places are starting to kind of play with it. Instead of having a badge that you wear and you badge into the door, the camera points at the door, recognizes your face, matches it with the face that they've got on file for you, and it lets you in the door based on your face. Now, don't grow a mustache or a beard. Don't lose or gain a lot of weight. Don't get into a horrific car accident or something that's going to, it doesn't...
Yeah.
So... Is it
the debate?
It's very Big Brother, 1984.
Right. So
I'm being tracked. People in London know that they're being tracked everywhere they go.
Everywhere they
if
go.
You step out a foot outside your door,
correct.
In the city of London, you are tracked.
You are tracked. Now,
and they've shrugged their shoulders and go, "I'm being tracked."
The debate in the United States is, should we be controlling that?
Who's the they that should be controlling it?
Should we be saying it can't be used for courts? It can't be used for police enforcement? Can we
use it for the red light cameras? I know in Utah we don't have them, but like in Maryland, if you they have the red light cameras, and if you run the red light, I wish they had them here. It'd stop people from running the red lights as much. But if you run the red light, it takes a picture of your license plate, and the registered owner of the car gets a ticket in the mail.
Germany's been doing that since you were born.
What if I lent you my car?
Yeah.
Don't take a picture of the license plate. Take a picture of the person.
In Germany, it was a picture of me at the wheel showing my license plate.
It was two pictures.
There's two pictures. So the debate that is brewing is, what expectation of privacy do you have?
None. You have zero expectation of privacy.
In the way you look out in public.
Look, you have zero. And the courts have said you don't have an expectation of privacy out in public.
Well, but people are talking about this. People are talking about...
Especially with... Look, it comes down to this. You have zero expectation of privacy outside of your home. You leave your door, assume that someone somewhere has a cell phone that could be pointed in your direction. There's a drone somewhere. There's a Google Maps car driving around.
Talking about drones.
You have satellites that can zoom in on and tell you how many petals there are on the rose in your front yard. They can get some pretty detailed.
They can get very detailed.
One of the coolest and most frightening things that I've seen in a long time. Satellite took a high-res picture, some 4 billion pixel hyper HD picture from space, and it took a picture of the city of Singapore, right? And it looks like a nice, pretty picture of the city of Singapore. But you start pulling in and zooming in on that picture, you can see the color of somebody's fingernail polish. You can see whether a guy's shoelaces are untied. You can definitely see the license plates on cars on the highway. I mean, the picture is so detailed that from the normal picture, it's a nice cityscape of Singapore, the city of Singapore.
Yeah.
No, start drilling in. You can see in the picture, in the windows of the office buildings, you can see that the guy in this screen's playing solitaire. This guy's got a spreadsheet open. The scary level of detail.
It is amazing.
You have no expectation of privacy. Yeah. Zero. Assume someone somewhere can see what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's...
And you got to start being careful in your own home. You got one of those, hey Alexa or hey Google, turn on my lights. Yeah, they're not watching you necessarily.
They're listening to you.
But they're listening to you. They don't think they're not listening to you.
They're definitely listening to you. Yeah, so I read an article.
And this isn't paranoia. This is... We know they're listening to us.
I read an article this week about the technology, the face recognition, and the use, and of course, we've been using it for intelligence issues, but now it's becoming so widespread that the local police department has the capacity and the capability.
Well, yeah, because the technology's gotten cheaper,
exactly,
and more accessible, so that even on the limited budgets that the local law enforcement or whatever has, they can afford now these things. Or there are federal grants for upgrading your technology, and they can apply for those and that kind of thing.
But
as the technology improves,
in terms of reliability, there are still there are always real problem issues.
Well, I think that, look, no software is ever going to be perfect. And that's all this is, right? Face recognition software is an algorithm.
It's an algorithm.
And it puts a bunch of lines and it tries to match up the facial features.
It's probability.
Yeah.
It can be a high probability, but it's only probability.
I think...
So if you're going to use it
if you and I were walking down the street, I had a situation a couple weeks ago where somebody just looked at me and said, "Oh, you're a Balmanno. You must be related to Alain," and came up and said, "Are you a Balmanno? Do you know who's Alain to you?" He's my father. Well, of course he is. Now, he hadn't been introduced to me. He just saw me and knew. We've been told this before. We look a lot alike. Yeah. If you and I were walking down the street and face recognition hit us, it might, depending on which software and upgrades and the algorithms, whatever, it could confuse us. You could do something bad and I could get fingered for it.
I will never. Okay, never mind.
Right. I'm just saying.
I speed a lot.
Okay, because I never speed.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a problem. But the software is as good as the people writing it.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Would I trust maybe some code, some facial recognition code written by the CIA over some commercial product? Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay.
Because they use it
for something from Google over something that a startup is writing at somebody's garage. Yeah, there's a level of sophistication.
Yeah.
There's a level of sophistication in the code and the algorithm.
I think that's right.
So you got to be careful about, these. You get a local police department that's trying to, okay, we have X million dollars to put this facial recognition software in. Well, we'll get cameras. We got this.
So New York City is.
So maybe we go a little cheaper on the software.
Yeah. So New York City is one of those places right now that is bringing that online and using it more and causing a lot of angst among the locals.
Whether they tell me they're putting cameras up or not, I assume that there are cameras out there all the time at this point.
Yeah.
That's why you shouldn't have a level of expectation of privacy
in the public eye.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right. That being said, I kind of said I was going to make that was my spiel earlier. I'm going to make the real one. If you live outside of the state of Utah and you have an issue that your local legislature is dealing with or doing and you want us to talk about it, send us a link, send us an idea, let us know what your local legislature is doing, and we'll
look it up.
We'll do the reading and we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
Other than that, you can always message us on Facebook. You just do a search for us on Latter-day Left. We won't read your face, we promise.
Hey, is this week Valentine's Day?
This upcoming week is Valentine's Day. Thursday is the 14th.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
that's a made up holiday so that the card makers could sell cards, right?
I thought it was an excuse to watch gangster movies about Al Capone on TV.
Well, there you go.
Anyway, send us your comments, send us your thoughts. LatterdayLeft@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter @LatterdayLeft. And thanks for listening.
Have a good week.
As always, if you enjoy our show, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Our theme music is a selection from Tate Peterson's Midday Blues. You can find his music at freemusicarchive.com.